3, 2, 1. And that's how you clap.
Oh, that's just rude. You know, I tried my best. All right, now my clapping skills need some work. But leave it alone. Leave it alone.
So G's finally back. Welcome back, G.
Bye, Jake.
We missed your clapping, G.
No worries, boys. Yeah, I was listening to the podcast and I heard the clap. I was like, bro, we're off to a bad start.
Dude, that's why it's just...
Dude, when we actually did that clap, I thought like the consensus was we were going to redo the whole thing.
I agree.
But we just
Dude,
went
I
with
liked it. I like keeping bloopers in there.
Yeah, I honestly thought we were about to start. So we just started like... Start again. Ah, you got me good.
It was the weakest clap I've ever heard.
Well, yeah.
Explain yourself, Doc.
Just, not a good clapper. It's one of my flaws that I'm working on.
That's one of the values that G provides is clapping. He's a very good clapper.
Yeah.
So, moving on. So today's topic, episode number 17 of Hanging with Hardcore.
Let's go.
It's all about audiobooks. What do we think about them, boys?
Yeah, so I think audiobooks and knowledge, like just knowledge in general. Like why is actually knowledge important? Like in this day and age, why do we think it's like something that we need to focus on?
Well, knowledge is like it's the key to everything. Anything that's been revolutionary in this world. For example, the mics, technology. We're recording this, putting it onto YouTube for many, many people to see at once. That all comes down to knowledge. Someone had the idea to make it, and someone learned something and then made a product out of it. So I feel like knowledge leads to freedom. You can do so much with it.
Yeah.
You guys reckon that, in the world that we live in at the moment, everyone's looking for that one thing that's like, what's going to make them successful or what's going to like fix them? And the answer actually is just acquire more knowledge, as much knowledge as possible. So I don't know, like if there is one answer to success, it is knowledge. I'd say.
Yeah, just heaps and heaps of knowledge. I think it relates as well, like to last week's podcast when we were talking about the different types of leverage as well.
Yeah, for
like
sure.
To learn how to apply these different types of leverage, it all comes down to knowledge. And I think it's also about supply versus demand because, to make money in this world, it always comes down to, well, what knowledge skill sets do you have? Like the more specific knowledge that you have, eventually you separate yourself from the pack. So if everybody starts off as a clean slate, no one has any knowledge at all, you want to like try and make your way up like a pyramid. So like everybody starts at the bottom. Then as you acquire more knowledge, like everybody goes to school, learns the basics. Then as you upgrade yourself again and again and again, you find eventually you get to like the top of the pyramid and there's just like a handful of boys and girls there. So then once you get there, society will value you so much. And then that's how you will get paid for like all of your hard work. So yeah, it's just like so important. Like we focus on knowledge because then you can actually do something different. Like why is a dishwasher paid minimum wage? Because they don't have any specific knowledge. Or why is a cashier paid slightly higher than a dishwasher? Because it's only valued slightly more than a dishwasher. It's very quick to learn how to do that. You can learn it in like 2 days. So like the thing that you focus on, if you focus on hard tasks and hard specific knowledge, then eventually you separate yourself from everybody and then it's just a recipe for success.
I guess, I guess building on that point, like a dishwasher is very replaceable.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Because he doesn't have the knowledge to do different things and
Man, like,
replaceable.
Thinking about that, I remember at Nando's, like people would threaten like, oh man, if you don't give me more hours, I'm going to quit and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Just like, you know how many job applications we get every single week? There's that many coming in where we just it was bad, but we literally just would chuck it straight into the bin because, it was just an oversupply of applications coming through.
Yeah.
It's just like, well, what can you do? But like if someone has like so much specific skill and knowledge that took them 20 years to develop, why it's so valuable is because you can't actually train that. You can't physically sit down with a boy for 20 years and train them to get that knowledge. So like you need that guy. Like imagine if, Elon Musk left Tesla. man, it's going to be pretty hard to have the same skill set as him. He's at the top of the pyramid. There's only him with all of his foundations of knowledge there.
I think people have a hard time hearing that like whatever it is they're doing may not be as valuable as they think. And again, like it probably goes back to people, wrapping their identity in a certain job or doing a certain thing. Like there is, like the reality is the CEO gets paid more for a damn reason than the person who's, just operating on the machinery line or on the factory line. Like, and people argue, CEO wouldn't be able to make money if I didn't do whatever medial tasks that you were doing. But the reality is that, as G was saying, you're incredibly replaceable.
Yeah.
Very, very, very easy.
Yeah. And this is it's a little bit off topic as well, but touching on that subject is, minimum wage and all of that is increasing like crazy, especially in the US as well. Like on the All In podcast, they're talking about how Amazon is paying better than like a school teacher. We have to go to university and all of this. So now the minimum wage is going up so high, and now it's no longer about, the higher it goes up, the more profitable it is to actually bring in machines to replace everybody. So like people need to be careful. The higher minimum wage goes, the actual easier they will be to replace, because there'll be that inflection point where it's better to invest the capital into the machines.
And I think the more accelerated that version comes as well. So like companies are always about innovating and progressing as quick as possible. So if they have a massive overhead, and that massive overhead is people, like they're going to work and allocate as much money and time as possible to fix that overhead. So like by, I guess I want more money now, you're actually kind of affecting your future in a bad way.
We can kind of see that shift already happening from, you'll have, like the menial repetitive jobs. And it's kind of shifting towards becoming more thinking-based society, more than just repetitively doing the same action for 50 years, right? And that is really why knowledge is important, because now you're becoming more of a thinker. And when you're becoming more of a thinker, Naval talks about this, it's all about specific knowledge and working on something that is going to be valuable in the future. If you're, flipping burgers, a robot can do that. Versus if you're coding something that could revolutionize, like a certain thing in the world, code is a lot more valuable than flipping burgers. And it's harder to replace that code.
I reckon the key sentence that you just said there was valuable in the future. Like teachers in school should teach the students, hey, you want to think about the future, try and predict the future, see where the trends are going, and then choose your career path based on where the future will go. So that's like the beauty of us is, we have this specific knowledge of investors. This is what investors do. They try to see where the trends are going and they try to align themselves with that trend. And I wish schools could teach a little bit about investing and having that lens to see the world. Because I think the stats are coming out now, like the consensus is among the wealthy that if you go into university, most of those career paths will be dead within 10 years. You got to go quick.
There's a lot of specific teachers. I was speaking to a teacher last night who's been in the industry for 30 years. And he was saying and he's been into the investing world as well and learning all that kind of side. And he can't actually have a conversation with the students or anything because he gets ostracized by teachers. He gets the hammer brought down on him. He can't teach anything that's outside the curriculum or literature.
Yeah.
Because they just get
it's politics, right?
Branded. Yeah. So that, even that teacher that does want to help, and I think sometimes we can put it on the teachers. It's they can only really do so much because, at the end of the day, they're still working for someone. And it's the actual system itself that I think is the problem. And it's, we can always go down that path of school is built to create factory workers, but what happens when there's no factories?
Exactly. The problem now is the factory workers are being replaced by robots. So what are you going to do to the people learning in school, getting these degrees to work in them?
And
company.
then you factor in, universal basic incomes. Like, what are people meant to do? One of our goals at Hardware Head Start is like to create as much happiness as possible. If people have, like, for the longest time, people have had something to distract themselves with, their job, etc., etc. If people don't have that, we'd like to think that people are going to pour themselves into what they're passionate about or the creative juices, but I think they're just going to find other places, other things as well to just continue to distract themselves. And I think we were talking last week or something around like a major problem that is going to be, coming in the future is like mental health. Like if you think it's bad now, imagine when people don't have like jobs and stuff like that, or like their entire identity is just destroyed.
If they lose their job from disrupting technology.
And I think a lot of people don't see it coming. So I think that's why you got to talk about it a lot, although it's harsh.
There definitely is like a lot of misconception about knowledge in terms of like once you finish school, once you finish uni and you get a job, majority of people think learning is done for life. But if you actually value knowledge, then you become a student for life. And like you were saying, Doc, when eventually robots take over and people lose their jobs and, they had their whole identity and ego wrapped up in this job that they had, they won't feel as mentally affected if that does happen because you're a student. So you're seeing the world in the lens of, I want to learn something every single time. And your identity is not wrapped on one thing. It's everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that character development, or like what you're talking about, it only comes through actually realizing that knowledge is important and actually continuously learning. Like it only comes through that. It doesn't come through a lot of other things. So, yeah.
Yeah, we will eventually start talking about like audiobooks and why they're so good, but to just iterate again on why knowledge is so important. Something that a concept that people aren't aware of is now money versus future money. So now money is like the money that we always think about normally. Like you do 1 hour of work at whatever job and you'll get paid like $20 or whatever it happens to be. That's now money. And then there's this concept of future money, which is actually more important than now money. And now money is, you need to have that balance. You need to have like a decent amount of now money coming in so you can pay off your bills and all of that. But future money is really where you get that massive success. So what future money is like thinking about in terms of knowledge. Every single time, if you dedicate 1 hour to work, like imagine you're working 40 hours a week and now you still have 60 hours left over in your week. Is it better to put the next hour into doing 41 hours at work and get more now money, or put the next 1 hour into reading a book, which will give you knowledge to produce money in the future? Like, which one is actually better? And I'm a big believer that you want to have a decent amount of now money, but especially when you're just starting, you want to really try and skew it heavily to the future money. Like trying to be like half. If you can pump out 40 hours a week of work and then pump out 40 hours of study, that's a lot. But that will definitely lead to a lot of success. Because if you think about all the wealthiest people in the whole entire world that are billionaires and all of this, it wasn't them working at their job that was allowed them to become a billionaire. It was actually the accumulation of knowledge. So what we actually need to do is, if you see like a billionaire, it's very complicated. You can't actually do this, but a way to visualize it is work out everything they've ever read. That is a total sum of how much knowledge they've accumulated, or listened to in audiobooks and watched on YouTube, podcasts, and all of that stuff. If you could see how many hours they've put in, then practically the mathematics works out to be you tally up all of those hours and then you divide it by their total net worth, and then you get their hourly rate, which was produced by their time dedicated to that knowledge. Because it's not possible to actually just work at a standard job and make an extreme amount of wealth. Because the other saying is, like, most people are playing the ladder of addition, where you're just adding more money. I'm adding $20, I'm adding $22, and I'm leaving now to Officeworks or whatever. I'm getting $25 an hour. But I'm like, you're looking at the little gains. You want to look at how you can multiply your whole entire net worth through the ladder of multiplication. And this comes from constantly focusing on knowledge. So it's very important to think, like, throughout your whole life, what is actually your hourly rate of doing anything? You know, like if you're working at Nando's, you might be making $20 an hour. But if you used a lot of that time or extra time, your spare time, to read a book, how much is that worth? And when you actually break it down, like I was saying before, of having the total net worth, dividing it by the amount of time they've dedicated to acquire that knowledge, it actually works out to be literally hundreds of thousands of dollars per hour.
Mm.
So every time you dedicate 1 hour of time to knowledge, it sounds crazy, but you can actually make like $100,000 per hour. And maybe that's like just can't comprehend, but like literally that's how it works. Or maybe something that's more comprehensible is just like say $100 or $1,000. You know, if you keep dedicating your time to this, it will literally.
Acquiring that knowledge allows you to like build those multipliers. So it's then very, very easy to get that multiplied hourly rate if you kind of have the knowledge to learn how to. You know, and that's kind of like what leverage is.
Yeah. It always comes through knowledge. That's the way. That's the way you got to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said that really well.
Yeah, I got nothing to.
Hey,
really
what is what's do you have a number of like your hourly rate anymore?
I think it is $100,000 an hour.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
So that's crazy, like, because you obviously have a few clients and stuff like that. And the trade, like, let's just speak about trading course specifically. This is not live, but like we only charge $200 a month.
Yeah.
And you spend, what would that be in hours a month?
Oh, with a client?
Yeah.
About 20 hours a week.
20 hours a week.
20 hours a month.
20 hours a month. Like, damn, that's a pretty good deal.
Yeah. And yeah, it's a tough concept to comprehend because it's like, if I'm adding value to a client, it's not necessarily I'm adding $100,000 of value to them, because I'm not. But every time, like, you want to find ways where you can stack your knowledge up in a massive pillar. Because the reason why it's $100,000 now is because I've constantly just stacked it on the pillar. Here's knowledge that I will use for the long term. It's knowledge that I'll use forever. So then every time I like look at a video, I always ask myself, will I use this knowledge forever? And if I will, it will result in a long-term compounding effect to compound my knowledge.
Yeah.
So that's how you can make it so big. But like, yeah, with a client, I probably, you know, I think I'm providing a lot more value than what they're paying, but it's definitely not $100,000.
Even for the client though, like they're like you're providing a specific amount of value now, but let's talk about the future value for them.
Yeah.
So that the value you're adding now isn't just like it allows them to make whatever they're paying.
Yeah.
It then allows them to make that $100,000 or $200,000, $300,000, like many, many millions and millions of dollars throughout their lifetime. Like, what's the number there? Like,
yeah, I think, yeah, if like, you know, when we mentor people, we can use us as an example. Like we can say we've dedicated literally 1,000 hours to each of us. Then what's that? It's the combination of stacking 1,000 hours to create the pillar. Once you've finally created the pillar, then it unlocks and makes all of those hours worth it.
yeah.
So we have to finish the pillar off with every single person. So it's like you're adding a little brick. Then once you're finished the whole entire pillar, then yeah, it would be millions and millions of dollars that you create for that individual. But if you stop a quarter of the way throughout the pillar, it then turns into the clay advice shit that we always talk about. Because then it's just like, well, all of that was literally a waste of time. You charged the client, you know, you wasted your own time. And because like people don't understand our business model at Hardcore Head Start. It's we need to create like absolute specimens by creating these pillars, finishing it off and doing the job properly. Because then once they do that and we can make them millionaires, once they're millionaires in terms of just strictly the business sense, then we can go to them and say, hey, would you like to invest in our next project? And what we'll talk about when we get to the financial stuff is there's like 3 different types of people when they turn about like making money. There's like the people that have cash, they're the lowest. Then there's the people that use assets and to grow it, like, you know, compounding through investments. And then there's the last step, which is using other people's money and investing that on their behalf, and you grow even faster. So like that's our long-term view, is to be able to get into that third column, because we're already in the second. You know, we already have hundreds of thousands of dollars and money coming in, so we really need to get to that third.
And that third, like, is to be able to do that or like apply those multipliers to other people's money. You have to have the knowledge.
Yeah, you
Mm.
have to.
Yeah.
You have to.
You have to have a shit ton of knowledge.
Yeah.
Because then that comes with more than just like, oh, I'll make you money. It comes with responsibility of someone's like life.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of responsibility. So much.
Like what the investment portfolio under hardcore, where you actually are managing the entire portfolio. You have what 300 people under you.
Yeah, 300 people. So it's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot of responsibility because, you know, that's the people's life savings and stuff like that. If you mess it up, you know, you definitely don't want that. And like, you know, if you have a tough month, it can be hard to sleep.
Yeah,
Yeah, it can be hard to sleep.
and I think like that. Having that as a character for you, like that's going to only make you better all the time, because it makes you always want to, you know, do better for the client and always think from a client first point of view. And I think we live in it like in the finance world, we maybe have a kind of stereotype that the person's just a savage and always trying to take. And like I think the best in the world are just not like that.
Yeah.
The reality is they're not, and it's just hard for sometimes for people to be able to see it or actually have the access to the people who are the best in the world, like Dylan. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think as well, like Elon Musk talks about it, like you hit a stage where you just literally cannot consume your net worth anymore.
Mm.
Like the only reason Elon Musk has like in between like 200 and 300 billion dollars net worth, depending on the stock price. His net worth fluctuates that much. Like the other day we saw it at 300 bill. This is back down to 200 bill now, I think. Might be under 200 bill, who knows. But
$2 for 6 figures. I was like, what the fuck? He lost 100 bill.
I'm pretty sure he's compounding his net worth around 45%. So like practically 50%. So if he's got 200 bill averaging now, he will be locked in at an average of 300 bill next year. Then the year after that, he will make 50% of that roughly, which is 150 bill more. So you have 450 bill. Then like you can't even spend $1 billion. He's making 150 billion.
Yeah.
So like, you know,
You could literally borrow $1 billion, which is so tiny,
Yeah.
and just live off that every single year.
And the dude lives in like, what, the smallest little tiny house.
Yeah.
Doesn't even have houses and shit. Built different.
Yep.
But yeah, like we're talking about like strictly the business sense with hardcore head stuff. We're building people up so we can tap into that capital. It becomes a great win-win relationship. But also our mission is to donate $1 billion. Like
Yeah.
that's our first goal. Like, and it's a tough goal, but it's also an easy goal if everything goes to plan.
Yeah.
Like if everything stays on track as it's going now, you know, we can knock it over in, you know, 20-ish years or so, donate that 1 billion. But like, that's why, like, we need to create real world value for people, and value is money, you know?
I got a question recently on like, as a business person or as, you know, hardcore heads are, what's the most important thing to you? Like the answer is very easy. It's customers and clients. Because we all have individual goals. We have goals as business. We have things we want to achieve, but you have to think like, okay, how do I get to that specific thing? The answer is, okay, well, I have to do a certain thing for these customers. Oh, if I provide them this amount of value, and that amount of value has to be as much as possible, then that allows us to do this and this and this.
Yeah.
So it always comes back to like providing as much value for the customer
Yeah.
and the client every single time.
Yeah. I'm thinking about Elon again. It's like, when you're thinking really big like Elon, most people are stuck in the world of thinking like, oh, I need to get wealthy for me. But like when you think really, really big, you're just like, oh, that's so easy. Getting wealthy for me is so easy, where you'll get to Elon Musk's state where he just can't spend his net worth anymore. So then it always becomes a long term. If you do your deep thought about where you want your life to go, you actually have to do it for others. Like you actually have to do it to move mankind forward.
Yeah.
So because
Absolutely.
just becoming financially free for yourself, it's pretty simple.
And it's
And you
selfish.
did that, right?
And it's selfish.
Yeah, you can do it quick.
Yeah.
You can get rich and move to an island and chill and put your feet up and all that kind of shit. But once you get to a certain point of wisdom, you'll realize that you're a selfish piece of shit.
Yeah.
Because you actually have to.
Because you
give
got it
back
good.
in the world.
Yeah, you got it good. Like he did that with, like, after he sold PayPal, he had $400 million. He could have just coasted,
Yeah.
but he invested every single bit into SpaceX and Tesla to, make humans an interplanetary species, and he's doing it for us if you really think about it. And
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
he's getting wealthy in the process. It's not like he's chasing money. Obviously, he needs money, but he's doing it for the greater good.
That's the funniest thing to me is we allocate like the governments and stuff allocate so much money to just a bunch of bullshit. Like, why don't we just give Elon the money?
He's a way better allocator of money.
Why don't we just give it to Elon to send us to Mars?
Yeah.
Anyway,
So yeah, like that's a bit of the rundown of like why knowledge is so important. Knowledge is literally everything. It literally is the answer. And the goal is to get to like as high up the pyramid as you can get, where there is no competition. You can provide the most value to society, if that's your goal. So the thing that we talk about is like reading is so important and acquiring knowledge is so important, but like reading books, it's all a part of us where we struggle to read physical books. And we got a lot of people from the podcast saying, when you say read books, like, man, I'm just a guy that just can't read books. And we say, yeah, we're similar in that regard as well. Like we actually recommend to like read audiobooks. So that's what we're really big on, right? Like always pumping out audiobooks. It's so much easier. Like what's some of the benefits of reading audiobooks rather than the physical?
I think there's a certain amount of like efficiency. Like you get to multitask a little bit, and people say multitasking is bad, but I think if you get to do something with your hands whilst you're actually consuming information, especially something that's medial. Is it medial or menial?
I think it's menial.
Menial.
Yeah.
Something that's menial, then it's a win-win.
Yeah.
Because then you're doing twice the amount of work.
Yeah.
Instead of just sitting there doing nothing.
Yeah.
But then you also we always talk about like it's good to do these tasks, but make sure when you're doing it, like you're actually doing the reading properly. Like the reading is the most important thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So it's actually a skill. Like it takes a lot of time to be able to build up that skill to actually absorb, like while you're washing the dishes and stuff like that. We're written like a few on the board of like what we like to do, but like I think the easiest one is like just going for a walk. Because now it's like sometimes you can think like, oh, going for a walk is boring. Like, oh, my physical health, oh, I can't really be bothered today. And then reading a book is boring too. But now if you just put them both together, you're like, oh, but I can be super efficient, and do two things at once.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I might go on the walk, get my 10,000 steps in or whatever, and then read the book at the exact same time. And then it's like a task where it's just like, I feel like for me, it's like, as long as I'm not switching tasks and I'm always doing the same thing, that means my brain can just zone out and focus just on the book. But if I'm switching tasks, going through my to-dos, for the day, then that's where I lose the focus.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's just like keep on going.
Yeah.
So like even with the cleaning, like it's really good to do the cleaning, but sometimes I'd find myself if I swapped cleaning tasks and I had to think about what to clean next, then that gets me out.
Yeah. And then you lose that concentration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You lose that 2 minutes or something while you're checking, and then you zone back in. You're like, wait, what?
It's always
Where
like the
am I
most
in the
crucial
book?
2 minutes as well. It's like the most crucial point of the book as well.
Oh, every time.
Every single time.
Every time.
Every time that happens to you, press rewind, and then don't rewind like 2 minutes, rewind like 5 minutes.
Yeah, for sure. You need to get the context again.
Yeah.
For the
Yeah.
point. Yeah. What are some other? Well, we got some things up here like going.
Yeah.
Well, I think about Aubrey Marcus, like, from Aubrey's book, Own the Day, he always talks about make reading, like when you're traveling, you're going to work, make your car, your travel time, that's like your personal university. So like,
Yeah, I was doing that.
yeah, that's a good one.
Sure.
Yeah, I was doing that when I was working. I had like one-way trip was like an hour and a half from here all the way to the airport, and I would just have it on. So like every single day, I was at least 3 hours of reading. Coming in.
I bet you that was like actually a blessing in disguise as well, because when you have that thing where you're forced to go there an hour and a half, it's like you may as well chuck it in, do it anyway. Yeah. But like for everybody, myself included, as soon as I started working from home, the amount of time put into books started to lower. So like really using that and seeing it as like it's actually a benefit. You're gonna sit here in traffic no matter what.
Yeah.
You may as well pump out some books.
For me, it was like listening to it for so long, every single day, made me like it. So I'm like literally I can't read a physical book. I'm doing it now because I've built that habit. But sitting in a car listening to the audiobook for so long made me like to listening to audiobooks, podcasts, all that kind of stuff. And that translated into liking knowledge more.
Yeah.
That just became my identity now. It's just consuming
Yeah.
information.
We used to do it with video games back in the day as well,
Yeah.
specifically Call of Duty or COD.
Yeah.
I've tried it with, we got this new game at the moment. You probably heard us. We got this new game called Age of Emps. I've tried it with Age of Emps. No way.
It's too
Yeah.
complicated. Yeah.
It's too much processing.
Yeah.
So then you can't concentrate. So there has to be like I don't know, whatever game you play that's, again, doesn't take a lot of your energy. You just like, you've played it so much and shit like that. It
Yeah.
doesn't take a lot of your brain power. You just played it so much. And then just focus in on the book. And I think be honest with yourself as well. Like Zell was saying, truly listen to it properly. And if you're focusing more on the game, then, and it is something you have to build up, like the concentration muscle. You have to be able to build that up. But, maybe you game and listen just for a little bit and try and focus as much as possible, and then, continue to build it up or whatever. But
I think as well, like listening to audiobooks for not for everyone, like it's easier for most of us, but I think you actually like to read the physical, right? You like to read the physical more than the audio.
Yeah. I notice when I listen to a lot of audiobooks that my mind just drifts a lot.
Yeah.
And then it actually takes more time for me because I have to keep rewinding.
Yeah.
Right.
Whereas like physical books, I can just focus on like what I'm reading.
Mm.
Yeah. We found a few like you. I think it's probably around like 20% are like you.
yeah,
80% probably like us, where we like the audio. But I think as well, it's like both ways. It comes down to like building that concentration muscle, that
Yeah.
focus muscle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where like there's no right or wrong answer. Some people like to read, some people like to listen. But even when you're starting out listening or reading, it's always about like, remember how like you said in one of the podcasts before, G's like literally just do like one page.
yeah,
Start with one page, then the next day do like 2 pages, and then slowly build up over time. Because if you can get those wins, those little wins on the board, then you actually feel good about it. You got to trick your own psychology to
Yeah.
getting the wins. If I see too many people like, they start these New Year's resolutions and stuff. Oh, I'm going to read an hour a day.
Mm.
You're setting yourself up for failure. Because
Yeah.
now you might read 45 minutes, but now it's still a loss on your psychology.
Yeah.
You still feel like it was a loss.
Yeah.
Whereas the other way around,
Start small.
start small and always win.
Something else I learned was like when you're reading, like try to understand the essence of what's being said
Yeah.
rather than just like reading the words. Because I noticed even I'd get stuck like reading just the words
Mm.
and then not understanding what they're saying. But I just still keep reading, and then I'd read like a whole page like that, and I wouldn't know what the fuck is going on.
Mm.
I think that's a very profound idea, like understanding the essence. And I think that actually relates back to like that pillar that I was talking about. People need to have the self-awareness that if they're just diving into this thing, they actually won't get the true essence out of a book. The more specific knowledge and the higher you've built your pillar, when you read that same book, you will actually absorb more out of it. So if you're going into a book thinking like, oh, I know everything about this book, the odds are if it's your first book, you actually didn't read it all and absorb it all. If you had read 100 books before, you would actually absorb more because you have a place to put it in your mind.
Yeah. So when I notice I'm like drifting, I usually just try to come back up by asking like, what is he talking about in this section?
Yeah.
yeah,
Or
How
what are they
use
talking about?
this?
What's this chapter about?
yeah, yeah,
I usually bring up, that's like my anchor back to what they're talking about. Like, what's this chapter about?
yeah.
And I think like talking about that pillar as well is like, this is what I love about this game, about the knowledge game, is because it's a long-term compounding game of that pillar. Because now every single time I read or listen to something or watch it, I'm just like, I know I'm absorbing it faster than like 99% of the population.
Yeah.
Like I know, like boom, I'm getting it. Boom, I'm getting it. Boom, I'm
Dude.
getting it. I know where it goes. I see the picture clearly.
This guy listening to a book, I don't even know how. It's like chipmunk. It's like
Oh, you
What's
heard
his,
me.
what's his speed?
Oh, like I was confident around 2x, like, but it was true to
Fuck.
myself that I could really absorb it properly
Damn.
at 2x. I think Chrissy G has heard me listen to All In at like like I don't do it like that. I normally do it like 1.25. Depends on the mood I'm in. But like sometimes I just like I needed to catch up. Like I needed to teach Chris something, but I forgot where it was in the podcast. So I just like whack it on 2x and I could quickly like scan through it really quick. Just like that. But
Yeah, I'm a 1x guy now. You like we've done all the. I think everyone here has probably done 2, and then I think as I've gone, I'm just like, nah, 1's alright. I like this shit, and you probably do spend a little bit more time. But for me, it's like I can get into a trance in like 1 or 1.25, like where it's like the hours and the days don't actually like I'm just like lying there listening to a book, and it's like I don't know, I'm living the same thing. It's like I feel that. I'm almost reading the thing. I'm reading it, and once I think that is more valuable for me than getting it done quicker. Yeah,
for most people, they should be at 1x speed or slower. Literally, it's better to be. It's the tortoise versus the hare.
Yeah, that's true.
If you're the tortoise and do it properly, you got to know where you're at.
Yeah.
And like even now, like with what I was doing, like the faster books, like I've definitely put it down now because I know my brain where it's at. It's not as good as it used to be. Like it's way slower.
Yeah.
But like in a more specific example, like I had a client say to me, like, if you were to create a portfolio, I know your portfolio is all in like technology based on software, but if you were to put one into renewable energy and create a renewable energy portfolio, how would you do it? And then you got 5 days. You're like, oh, boom, 5 days. It's a time limit. Now it's different. Like I'm watching videos, but on 2x, but I'm solely focusing on absorbing that. I'm not doing anything else with my hands. So, and then that's the only way. But like, if you're doing tasks around the house, there's no way you can do like 2x speed. You have to be sitting there and like, it's the same as reading.
Yeah.
Go on the 2x. You got to be watching, focusing on that one thing.
Yeah. Creating that deadline. That's like that uni students sending in their essays a minute before midnight. It's like they didn't start it. When they had 3 weeks, they started it an hour before it was due. It was like, apparently you just get so much work done because you can, just focus solely on that. And there's a sense of urgency and shit like that.
Yeah. That's what people say, like, again, Elon Musk, like supposedly he can just build that sense of urgency where he can just go like that 24/7.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you always like,
Dude,
same as
I
like,
wish I had that, man.
Built different.
Yeah. But even like what I really push as well is to like truly think outside the box and to have these thought experiments. Like sometimes I'm weighing it up in my head. Like, hey, if I made the goal of finishing work by 2 p.m. every day, would that lead to bigger ROI? Yes or no? And it might actually, because like you can go faster because you have a deadline of 2 p.m. You finish all your work for the day, and then you can go harder on physical health, having more fun, rejuvenating, working on your mental health and all of that. So like, everybody knows like when you're going to holiday or whatever, and you really want to just do nothing for a week, everybody pumps at work leading into that week. Well, why can't you do that every day?
Yeah. 100%.
That's a real good point. I've thought about that actually. I might have to do some thinking there. That's interesting. Well, how far along have you got in that thinking? Is like 2 p.m. the time, or is like, why is it 2 p.m. or are you still?
Yeah, I feel like it's around 2 p.m. because that's when your brain naturally starts to diminish. Or like mine personally. Around the 2 p.m. mark, it starts to go downhill anyway. So there's already an opportunity cost, and it's something that I figured out at like in Bali. That was always my thing. Work until 2 p.m. done. And I actually felt like I did more in Bali on a holiday.
Wow.
So like, for my holiday, like I spent tens of thousands of dollars over 3 months, but I felt like it was actually worth it. I actually feel like I produced more.
Did you feel like you were able to do more within a short amount of time because it was a different environment as well?
Yeah, that as well. And I on purpose made it so I was changing hotel like once a week.
Right.
Yeah, so every week it was a new hotel, new experience.
Yeah.
Then as well, like it turned out like, but then you have to account for, you kind of lose like 1 day of like traveling to that hotel and all of that, but trying to find the sweet spot.
What time would you normally start your day?
Start nice and early.
6?
Probably around 5.
5
o'clock. Yeah, 5 o'clock.
5 to 2. Smash out your work. Yeah.
It's already a long day. It's pretty long.
Yeah, it's pretty long.
It is.
14 hours. Oh, sorry, 9 hours.
Yeah.
Math was so off.
Boy, man, he said 14 hours. In my head, I went, Yeah. No, you're right though. Like that is a long time to stay focused for. It's like
I think as well as like it's, you know, when we go for runs, like if you go for a run or a bike ride every day, like imagine if you go on a 2-hour bike ride every day, you can hammer it out the first day, 2 hours easy because your legs are fresh. The next day, your time will be reduced because it's now your muscles are now damaged.
Yeah.
If you do another 2 hour the next day, it will be reduced again. If you do another 2 hours the next day, it's going to be reduced again. Like if you're pushing hard, it's not possible,
mm,
you know, to increase the rate. You need a little bit of time off to adapt. So yeah, I think that's some little bit of genius in the standard 9 to 5 having the weekends off, because it allows most people to rejuvenate their mind
yeah.
muscle.
they don't hate their job so much.
Mm.
Everything's okay. Monday, I've got to do this again. Friday, the weekend's here. I'm all excited. Everything's all good. Oh, Monday, I have my job again. It's hilarious.
Mm.
What are we at, boys?
Um,
The average book is, well, how many books should you be reading a year, right?
Yeah.
Or like kind of how did we do it, if that makes sense. So I guess the average book is 7 hours long.
Mm.
1 hour a day of reading is
One book a week.
one book a week. So if you can get one book a week done, you're building that pillar really, really quickly.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Now this is like average book on Audible.
Yeah.
Right. So an audiobook is about 7 hours, meaning someone's narrating it to you at 1x speed
Yeah.
at 7 hours.
Absolutely. I think that's a really good use of your time. Like,
Yeah.
it's the best use of your time.
Especially at the beginning.
It's such a low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
It's just 1 hour of your day. And then in 1 week, you just do it consistently for a week. You get one whole book done. It's so good.
I think a lot of people haven't actually finished a book, like read a book.
Or like I think the problem a lot of the time is they're just being suggested a really bad book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they've set themselves up for failure.
Yeah,
Like, where we always recommend Rich Dad Poor Dad, the
Yeah.
easiest book to understand and to absorb, and it's fun, a nice little story, no
Yeah.
jargon and all that silly stuff.
Yeah. True.
Yeah. Is there like one book other than Rich Dad Poor Dad where it's like, like anyone would love it? Because like when I started, you actually made me listen to Elon Musk's autobiography, and that really related to me as an aerospace engineer. Right? I was like, I felt like I was in that book, just listening to it, and that made me like Audible books more. Is there like any one of those type of books other than Rich Dad Poor Dad, or would you guys say that's the one?
Do you reckon maybe it comes down again to like do what you love until you love doing it? It's like read what you actually like reading. So maybe not one specific thing, but specific to a certain person. It's like if you, this is a wild example, but if you like cricket, read something on cricket.
Yeah.
So until you like reading. So maybe, I don't know, I'm thinking maybe not one specific book and a specific thing, it's just something that's specific to that person that they're passionate about or they're interested in.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, because for your example, that Elon Musk book is a tough book, but because you have the interest in engineering and all of that, it was easy for you to absorb. So I think, it just comes down to that self-awareness. Like, what is something, you're interested in, just do that.
Yeah. And isn't it like, for your future, that it is better to opportunity cost or waste the time reading something that is not going to help you build that pillar, but loving reading will, building that habit will then allow you to read more books and other books. And, so just think of it like that, I think is the best way.
And I think as well, like, we just chuck that stat out there of like, if you read 1 hour a day for 7 days, it's one book a week, just to put it into perspective. Like, you don't actually have to do that. Like, it's actually pretty quick. Like, you can build up to that. Like we were saying, that 1 page a day or 1 minute a day and slowly build up. But if you can pump out, like, I think it's like, if you can just pump out 100 books, that's like practically enough. Like, you can get away with just reading 100 books in your life. Now you have all of that knowledge, a new perspective on the world, a new lens, multiple lenses to see the world. And that's actually enough. Like, you don't really need to read books after that. Like, if you want to go and become like the best of the best of the best, you're going to have to continue. But for the average person, if you just read 100 books, you will be in the top 1% of intelligence in the world.
100 books that you've absorbed thoroughly.
properly.
Yeah.
You'll be a completely different person as well, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, what's the stat here, boys? A book a week for 4 years is roughly 200 books.
200 books. So like that was like more about like the 4 years comparison to a standard university degree.
Yeah.
You know, if you do 4 years of uni, you get a uni degree, piece of paper that says you've done some good shit. Where if you go to,
Been there, done that.
you know, if you do 200 books, like what is actually better? Like, because the best thing about books is you're creating and handcrafting your own university course, and you have the ability to see exactly where you want to go. Like, how many times when you're at uni have you like seen a part of the course and you're like, this is literally pointless, it's not going to help me, or like I already know this, you know, or we've already all experienced it at school.
Probably the first 2 years out of my 4-year degree.
2 years,
Yeah.
just half of it.
Yeah.
Far out, man.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And then I was, because I had Hex debt, well, Hex loan, right? They actually subsidize your uni fees.
Mm.
So for me, I was lucky to only have 8K a year
Yeah.
of uni fees. International students have to pay like 30, 40K a year.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, man.
Yeah.
And they have to pay it up front as well.
Up front. Yeah.
Not good.
Yeah.
It's fucked.
So that was the other comparison that we were talking about. Like, average uni degree is like 8,000 a year, but if you did that, and it's like going to be like 40 hours a week of work because it's full time, so 40 hours, $8,000 a year. Then the other is read 7 hours a week, pump out one book a week, and it only costs 1,000. You save more time, and you save more money, and you probably get better results potentially, depending on what you want in life. Not all the time, but a lot of the time.
I think for the majority, I'd be confident to say for the majority, because I think a lot of people at uni don't know what they want to do.
Yeah.
So having a more rounded kind of knowledge base would be
Help them choose their degree, right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely.
Like if I was in like just finished year 12, I'm 18 years old. And if you just spend 1 year, a lot of people will say, oh, don't take a gap year, get straight into uni. If you spend that 1 year just pumping out one book a week, I guarantee you, after 52 books, you'll have a better idea of what you want to do in uni if you decide to do uni.
Imagine, what would be interesting if someone spent 4 years, still had the idea they want to go to uni, but spent 4 years reading that 200 books, and then they still wanted to go to uni, but they have a very specific goal set of like where they want to go and how they want to get there.
Yeah. It's a weird one in my mind as well. Like, I feel like truly, as men, I feel like we're not a man until we've read 100 books.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
I don't feel like it's as soon as you turn 18, you're a man. I feel like, no, it's acquiring that knowledge and wisdom that turns you into a man. So if you can get 100 books in, like, I feel like that's your rite of passage.
Yeah, for sure. 100%.
Yeah. And like that, I think that's the good thing about, like, how often do you go, like when I was in university too, I felt like, oh shit, like I'm pretty close to everybody and I'm competing and like all of this stuff. But now if I went back to uni, looked at all the people around, I'm like, dude, it's not a competition at all. You guys are little kids, man. You're little kids. How can you compete?
Dude, I felt the same way. After I finished my degree, I went back and did postgrad. I'm like, mate, you guys are fucked. You guys are little kids, mate. But no, I feel it. Yeah, I get you. So true.
Yeah.
I think,
I actually had this conversation, the other day about what does school actually teach you? School really, I mean, in terms of education, probably it's not that in depth. The only thing school teaches you is how to be social.
Yeah.
It's like how to interact with people.
From a teacher's point of view, again, I was speaking to that guy. He said it's meant to be entirely for community, but like, as in, again, like how to be social. But the way that schools are run now is like even that itself has disappeared.
I mean, with the pandemic and everything, everything's done over Zoom now.
Yeah.
So like, how much of a community feel is there now? It's different.
Absolutely. Yeah. I was who was I talking to? Someone, but just in general about, COVID and stuff like that. Like I know that my, what is it? Maybe energy to be able to speak to people or see people or willpower when I'm with people is really subsiding. Like I don't have the same energy as I used to before COVID when I was seeing people regularly. Now, if I go and see people, I get tired or lose energy very, very quickly. I'm like, imagine being a kid where you haven't seen people in how many damn years, and then now you have to go and see all these new people again, introduce yourself, all that kind of stuff, and then do like year 11 and year 12 and work out if you have to go to uni or not, work out if you want to take on that debt or not, work out what the hell you want to do for the rest of your life and all that kind of crap. Like, damn, arguably this is going to be some of the hardest time to be a year 12 student.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of pressure on those kids, man.
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but did your parents ever talk to you about hex debt?
No one walks you through it properly.
Yeah, I had no idea. I thought, oh, my parents will figure it out for me.
Parents didn't know that shit.
Yeah.
I was only questioning it because I knew you guys. And you guys were telling me about the negative side effects.
Yeah. I had no idea what it was. I thought it was free money.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
She gets you, boys.
She gets you.
She gets you.
Yeah.
But like the other comparison that we like to talk about at hardcore is like, hey, if it's your goal to be financially free and do relatively no work, well, the path may be going to Nando's or any other entry-level job, working your ass off, acquiring more responsibility and trying to get promoted, so then you can get that business knowledge and all of that experience. At the same time, pump out 1 book a week. Now you got capital coming in, big capital coming in. You're solving your now money issue and you're solving your future money issue. And if you solve both of them, it leads to a lot of success. Whereas uni, it's pretty damn hard to have a full-time job and do full-time uni at the same time, I would think, and pump out and do the future money in terms of knowledge for yourself with the books as well. Like, it just seems like, too much going on. So, we talk about it, and we will talk about it in the future. Like, you can become a multi-millionaire literally as a dishwasher. You don't even need to upgrade your pay. If you know how to invest your money wisely and do basic money principles, not spending over your limit and all that stuff, you'll become a multi-millionaire.
Just takes time, huh?
Time and patience, yeah.
All that good stuff.
All the good stuff.
Yeah. I think we had a little point, Samar, on like the Audible and how it's gamified.
Yeah. So one thing I really like about the Audible app is it actually tracks your total listening hours. And then based on how much you've listened over time in your account, it gives you like these badges that you can kind of earn as you read more and more books. And then there's like 5 different classifications of where you are at as a reader. It's like a novice, and then it could be like an intermediate, and then it's like an advanced level, then it's like a professor, and then at the end it's like a master.
Yeah.
Like a reading master.
Yeah.
And you can kind of like make it like a game. I want to become a master one day.
Dude.
And just pump out books. It just makes you want to pump out books. It's a good system.
Yeah. I think that master as well relates to like becoming that man or becoming that adult. If you're, if you can become the master, man, it's the best feeling when you finally have it there. Like, and there's no more hours ticking. You're just the master.
Yeah. And
Man,
you've
it's
got all
best.
the badges. And,
Yeah.
Master Shifu.
Master Buku.
Yeah. So if you guys
Master
haven't
Book.
already like downloaded the Audible app, highly recommend checking out
Yeah.
Audible. Or even on YouTube. Listen to a book on YouTube if you don't want to pay for the Audible.
Audible
Yeah.
costs $15 a month.
Yeah. We recommend paying for it because then
You
you got
get more
skin in the
options.
game.
Yeah. I think we talk about investing in yourself a lot. I was
Yeah.
like, but that is the best way to invest in yourself. To
Yeah.
buy that $15.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus you get a free book a month
Yeah.
with your $15.
And having that data of knowing exactly how many hours you've read, now you
Yeah.
can't lie, because what's that thing like? You would always you would have ego come into it where you're like, oh man, I've read this many books on YouTube. Well, have you really? Like, look at you don't have an app to refer back to see.
And you've got it always there. Like, I know with a book, it can physically break down and wear and tear, and then you got to scroll through the shit and try and find the pages. But on the Audible app, you can create highlights and clips of, really good points and stuff like that. So you have the ability to go back and just kind of revisit specific points.
Yeah.
Maybe just re-jog your memory, because I know it's beneficial for me because I can't remember everything all the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, oh shit, I know I've read that, I know it, but what was it again? And then once you get the brain start ticking over with the knowledge, you're like, there it is.
That's it.
That's it, boys.
And I think, yeah, like once you get all this knowledge in, because life is hard without knowledge. It really is hard, and it's a really scary place. But once you get all of this knowledge in, man, she feels like Grand Theft Auto and putting on the cheats.
Dude, imagine if like without knowledge, it's like people not inventing the wheel, like a circular wheel. Imagine how hard life would be. You just drag everything forever and then we wouldn't have cars. Imagine if someone didn't invent fire.
Yeah.
Dude.
And I think like one last point as well is like whenever you open up a book, you will, if you lead in it with an optimistic mind, with no ego, you will learn something. But if you go in it with a closed mind, I won't learn anything. You won't learn anything.
100%.
So it's always, you got to go in there with no bias and no ego and be optimistic about it.
Be a student.
Yeah.
I
think maybe one more message as well is like what we always say, us boys at Hardcore, sometimes we can seem intimidating because we have all of this knowledge and we, speak about certain things and we go on these little crazy, rants that go deeper and deeper and deeper, and you might not be able to follow along. But honestly, we were just little boys from the hood. We were standard boys. There literally is nothing special about us.
From the hood.
We're the boys from the hood. We still live in the hood,
We actually do live in the hood.
So, like, literally, like, it sounds corny, but if we can do it, like, literally anyone can do it too.
It is a good point, though.
Boys from the hood. That's going to be the next jumper.
It's boys from the proper hood. Like, good these guys. But yeah.
All right, boys.
Yeah.
Sweet.
All right, boys. So thank you guys for watching Hanging with Hardcore episode number 17. If you guys really like this video, drop a like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss an episode. It's been 17 weeks, 17 episodes.
Let's go.
We keep putting one out every single week, boys. We've got G back now, so.
Oh, everything just feels better now that G's back.
The pressure's off you now, Doc.
Yeah, I don't have to clap anymore. No more stress. I haven't slept in a week. It's been crazy.
All right, on that note, shall we pack it up?
Pack it up.
Back it up.
Back her up.